Welcome. We are here at Hashtag Sports to walk you through your victory Sunday. That's a little weird, right? Hey, Paul from Hashtag Sports. Obviously, we've got a wild deck of cards with us tonight. We have to my immediate right. That's over here. Yeah, there we go. I'm getting good at this thing. It's like a weatherman thing. I'm getting good at this. We got Mike sitting right next to me. Tommy right below me. That's the easy one to get, right? That's Tommy right below me. Joe over to the side. Joe just got done calling the game. If you guys don't know, Joe has done play-by-play for us the entire season. An exhausting time, but not so exhausting when you're whooping that Patriot ass. Welcome, everybody, to the Hashtag Sports post-game show. Unfortunately, Mario is unable to be with us for now. We might see him later tonight, but his kids were still up at this point. So doesn't look like he's going to make it.
Daddy duties
yeah.
take precedent.
Yeah, it happens. It gets the best of us sometimes. So let's recap real quick. Joe, you are 6 beers deep into your evening. Congratulations. Yes. We love that about you. Thank you to everybody in the chat. So Bills Victory Sunday officially starts in 12 minutes. And can we just talk for a moment about Josh Allen, this offense, 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. Unprecedented in my memory, right? I do not ever recall a perfect game. That is the definition of a perfect game. You are unbeatable if you score a touchdown on every drive, right? You're effectively unbeatable. We'll start with Tommy and then Mike, because you guys told us this was not going to be a low-scoring game.
That's right. Now, I didn't think it was going to be in the high 40s, but I knew that, going into this game, we had the momentum going. We had our offensive line was starting to gel with Ryan Bates coming in. It just seemed like it was just the perfect storm. And like I said before, guys, from that Tampa game, something clicked with this team. And by the way, not only did we score 7 on 7 straight drives, that's 2 games against Bill Belichick with no punts. Mm-hmm. That is unbelievable by itself. Mm-hmm. But what a phenomenal job by everyone on this team, including the coaches. Right. It was very well executed, and I love what I saw out there tonight.
Yeah, that's right. We do have a super chat to get to. That is Vlad. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. It says, hey, let's give Bill Belichick a little credit. He did take away our punting game, and that is absolutely true. Mike, I think you were telling me before, we were joking about the Bills' lack of a punt game. So rare, unprecedented?
It is. Only one other time has a Bill Belichick team not had them punt, and that was Week 16. We are the only team to ever do it to them. It's the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. I think that we haven't punted in like the last 10 quarters because we didn't punt during the second half of that crazy monsoon bowl either.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Joe, you got to call this one front and center. You and I were both under the thought at halftime that this was going to be a mail it in, weird formation. The game might tighten up a little bit, but you're probably not going to see too much. That was not the message that was delivered at One Bills Drive tonight. What do you think was so different tonight from the way that you saw it going into halftime?
Well, first of all, let's give the Patriots credit. That last drive where Trubisky came in, they really stood their own ground there. And that 8th drive, the Patriots D was kind of like, no, we're not giving up this one. They smashed us in the mouth on that drive, and we didn't even get a yard.
That's true. That is true.
We're gonna go with pardon the interruption rules because I can mute people as your host. So we're gonna be adding and deducting points.
As long as you get docking points, I'm all right. I honestly don't know. We talk about what Bill Belichick. I'm watching NFL Network, and they just showed a stat that in his coaching career, Bill Belichick's 3 worst losses are against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, 31 points I think it was before.
29. Yeah. So that's incredible to me. As far as the philosophy going into this game. A lot of people are saying statement game, and if Coach McDermott, it's really good to see this from Coach McDermott. Like when Coach McDermott wants to make a statement, hey, we know now, like he'll make a statement, and he does not care. That pass to Dawson Knox when we're up by however many we're up at that point, and Dawson Knox is this close to his third touchdown. Like, that's beautiful. That's step on their throat. And for any Patriots fan, I'm not saying there are any, but if there's a single Patriots fan crying about us running up the score, shut the hell up, because that's what you did for 20 plus years against everybody. And so, and back then you were saying what we're saying now. You don't want us to score, stop us. Stop us. And you can't stop us now. And so what you did to us for 20 years, we're giving it right back to you. So start your crying, because this is only season 2. There's a lot more to come.
Well, and I want to thank Talking Football with Ray. Ray, our friend of the channel. Love having Ray on. He says, I hope all your refrigerators stop working, which is about as PG as it gets for Ray. So yeah, we love you too, Ray. Thanks for stopping. Thanks for stopping in. Listen, I think it's funny, right? Because when Tommy Doyle caught that touchdown pass, the Bills have, every year they give a big man touchdown. Like it's like the reward to the offensive line. Like it's almost like they promised their team, listen, we're going to get a big man touchdown. We don't know when, but we're going to award it to somebody sooner or later. And, we've seen Ryan Bates drag routes, and we've seen, Dion Dawkins fade routes, like the things that, most of us see in our nightmares. And we hadn't seen a big man touchdown all year until today, Tommy Doyle, right? This is something the Bills team does every year. Tommy, I'm going to start with you. Do you think Buffalo puts that on the up on the bulletin board and says, listen, this is going to somebody. We're going to get one for somebody who's going to earn it. Do you think this is some reward for Tommy Doyle?
I guess it's weird because he was eligible to play before, I believe, or the play prior, and it didn't go to him. And then we went to him on the second one or third play on the same one. So it was like, it was going to happen one way or the other. Right. Doyle was getting a touchdown because he was the one that was eligible the whole time on that last drive there in the red zone. But yeah, I guess so, man. It seems like it's a staple now in Buffalo.
Doyle rules, right?
Right.
Doyle rules. So I'm going to switch up the layout a little bit just because it's hard for me to bring up comments without completely making Tommy and Joe disappear. So we're going to change the look real fast. Oh,
they have faces for radio anyways.
You know what? I want to point out, I got lucky thanks to Dan Mitchell because he had something come up. He was actually supposed to do something on ESPN Chattanooga. He got a hold of us and said, hey, I'm stuck at work. I got to do this ESPN radio thing I can't do. Can you guys fill in? And I was dumb enough to infer that you should bet the under on this game. The Bills had basically covered that in the first half by themselves, right? So my apologies to Greg. I apologized to him on Twitter that I said basically to bet the under and that it would be a low-scoring game, a close, low-scoring game. Can't bat 1,000. Right, you just can't bet 1,000.
The Patriots tried to cover that for us, right? But the Bills just unfortunately scoring.
Right. So, Tommy, I know you've been a big Devin guy, but I want to go to Mike first on this.
Right,
there was absolutely no way you were going to see Zach Moss in this football game unless the score got to be the score that it was, right?
Absolutely. Devin Singletary over the last 5 weeks, I would say, has been, head and shoulders the featured back, and he's earned it every freaking rep that he's gotten. Like, listen, I was not a big Singletary guy coming into the year.
Trust me, Tommy was preaching to you. Listen,
yes, he was.
Yeah,
yes, he was. And I was a Moss guy, and you know what? Singletary has won me over. He stopped dancing and he started hitting the holes hard. And how do you not, respect someone who can get crapped on by the entire Bills Mafia for 13 weeks and still stay locked in, and now everyone loves him?
Yeah, I will admit to coming up with multiple scenarios where the Bills traded Devin Singletary this last offseason. Thank you to Matthias. Matthias is so reliable with a monster super chat. Thank you so much. No words, just take my money. And believe me, it's all going to a good place. The hashtag charity is Matthew 25 Farms, Rick Rarick's farm. They have a farm where they raise produce and then just donate all of it. They teach you how to farm. It's an incredible educational source in Central New York. We are thrilled to be able to align with them. We actually were able to get Joe came out to the golf tournament this year, and we did a hashtag golf tournament with them, and it was a riot. So thank you again, Matthias. That money is going to a good place. So Mike Trotter says Singletary pushes the pile like a monster. Joe, if Singletary were a normal-sized human being, is he as an effective runner in the gaps? Because I saw him jump through like human holes that were only about this big, and he just like moused himself up and jumped through the hole. If he's a normal-sized human being, is he as effective a running back in the NFL?
You say that, and I laugh because there was one play in the first half, I believe it was, where the screen, the camera angle just shows him next to Spencer Brown. And I was like, what a small guy. Like, he's a good 1.5 feet smaller than Brown is. And it's hilarious just seeing them two next to each other. But no, he's not. Like, one thing that we learned early on watching football is you want a smaller running back because he can hide behind his offensive lineman. And that's something that, Devin Singletary can do. We've come into a league where everyone wants the Ezekiel Elliott's or the Derrick Henrys or these big guys who can take a hit and keep going. Devin Singletary has been able to find his own rhythm, find his own game. And listen, some people might say that this is something that is just new that's coming out. But Tommy, if you've been a Singletary guy, I've been a Singletary guy. Like, he's never averaged less than 3.5 yards a carry for a season. And, I always say 3.5 yards a carry 3 times, that's a first down every time. So do that. That's just quick math, which is really good for this time of night. But anyway, so no, I think that we got this guy for a reason, and I want to keep him around.
Yeah, well, Devin Singletary, next year's contract year, if my math's correct. At some point, right, you're looking at the money that Josh makes, and you look at the team that you have, and the Bills have been really fortunate to have incumbents, right, and have the same roster over and over and over again. And the problem with that is those guys get more and more expensive, right? As things go on, they get more and more expensive. So, Tommy, if we're looking at this Bills team, right, let's just assume Kansas City wins tomorrow, right? So Bills are playing Kansas City. It's the first drive. A player goes out. What's the worst case? Who's the worst player to lose coming into Kansas City, right? If you're looking at that matchup, if offense or defense, doesn't matter. Who's the one guy on offense or defense that if you lose, you're going to have a real hard time getting past that?
Oh, Josh Allen.
Well, I mean, okay, you have to exclude Josh Allen. Exclude Josh Allen.
That was easy. That was really easy. Do I pass? Okay, so not Josh Allen. I would say, honestly, at this point, we got to be real here. Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust Zach Moss. He's averaging like 2 yards a carry. And definitely don't trust Breida because he's like hands of stone.
He'd have to be active. He'd have to be active.
Right. So I would say Singletary at this point, the way we're playing on offense and getting him more involved in the last month, it would be Devin Singletary. That would be a huge loss.
Joe, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And do you have another one on the opposite side of the football?
Bates. It's Bates.
Bates.
Ryan Bates.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Bates.
I like that.
Since he's been in there, the offensive line has just been like, look at the offensive line today. Like, and Paul and I were talking about this right after halftime. Like, this was against the number 4 or number 6 scoring defense in the NFL. This wasn't against the Falcons. This wasn't against the Jets. This was a legit defensive juggernaut with a legit defensive juggernaut head coach. And they were nothing. Like, we cut through them like cheese. Like, it was just so easy. This offense couldn't do anything wrong. And this offensive line protected Josh Allen so well all day. What happened to Matt Judon? What happened to Hightower? All these defensive names that they re-signed or came back from that list that I refuse to say over airs just in case we get shut down or whatever the hell YouTube's doing these days. From last year that came back. They spent so much money, and yet this offensive line enforced their will on that defense. And, I think since Bates has been here, this offensive line has been so much better.
Can I piggyback off that real quick, by the way?
I have to interrupt real quick because the Mighty
ahead.
Buffoon says it's obviously Tommy Doyle. He catches 100% of the balls tossed to him.
That's true.
That's true.
This could be a Christian Wade scenario. It could be a Christian Wade scenario where all he does is score touchdowns, right? We don't know. Everybody talked about Spencer Brown being that guy. Well, Spencer Brown's not panning out to be the receiving threat we all thought at the beginning of this offseason.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yes, Ryan Bates is that also helped, but I got to say, Dion Dawkins, the play that he's done the last month, it seems like he has everything back as far as his strength. I felt like in the beginning of the season, most of the season, he just wasn't all there. His strength wasn't back yet, and I feel like, man, Dion Dawkins is playing like a dog out there. And yes, Ryan Bates is a huge addition to this offensive line, but you got to give credit to Dawkins as well.
All right, Mike. Listen, we've got a couple on the table. Do you agree, disagree? Because the chat has come up with a lot of your favorites, right? You're talking Hyde, Poyer. Obviously, we see Knox is mentioned quite a bit. Ryan Bates actually was mentioned a few times. Any of the linebackers. Actually, I shouldn't say any of the linebackers. Milano's the only one that's been mentioned by name, ironically enough. So what do you got for me, Mike? Do you agree, disagree?
For me, it's Hyde and Poyer.
Yeah.
What they allow us to do on defense is allowed us to not miss Trey White and still stay the number one ranked defense in the league. You saw that pick that Hyde made today. That was just unbelievable. Like, Wallace was burnt. Like, that was a touchdown, and he just came out of nowhere and took it away. What they're able to do, not only from the pass game, but with the mind games they play that help the run game as well. It's just amazing. Like, those two guys are the heart and soul of that defense.
Yeah, agreed. And, we have to give credit where credit is due. Obviously, you can't be on this team and lose Josh Allen. He had 157.6 quarterback rating today. Thank you, Donnie Brook, for the stat.
That's all?
Absurd.
Come
That's
on, why
it.
not
Yeah,
160?
That's all. And we want to thank MDL0838 because he's donating $10 to Julian Edelman's Gambling Anonymous meeting. Go Bills. Julian Edelman, for those of you who don't know, bet $100,000 on the Patriots versus the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. His dad, direct quote, "That was a bad idea." His dad said that to him on the phone because, of course, he called his parents and wanted to tell them about it. And he's like, "Yeah, that's a bad idea." Like, why did you do that?
All the ex-Patriots that are talking heads now. All like, oh, this is gonna be Bill Belichick. It's the third time he's seen him. It's gonna, he's gonna have a game plan for him. They're not gonna let Josh. Josh played a perfect game last time. He can't do that 2 times in a row. Well, guess what? He played better.
It's he did play better today. Like it was absurd. It was absurd. And it's a lot of times when you see Josh and I quote the stat all the time. The only game that Josh Allen has ever lost where he's rushed for 10 or more times was the Tampa game. He was 10-0 going into the Tampa game, right? It's like he's got an absurd record when he rushes 10 times or more. Today, 6 rushes, right? Didn't need the rhythm. He was on today. Whatever the looks were, whatever it was, they were just on. And I think it's fascinating. One, I want to call it Donnie Brooks' comment. He says Edelman obviously doesn't watch Razor Sharp Picks. Joe's been doing picks for us all season with Razor Sharp Picks. Thank you so much for that. But the defense has been wild to watch, right? Because the Patriots aren't normally a team that allows you the opportunity to get turnovers on them, right? Like, that's over the years, that's been the staple of the Patriots is they're not going to turn the football over. The Bills, only 4 games this year did they not turn the ball over, right? So the defense ran on a high-octane, high-risk turnover machine. The offense was no different, right? They ran a high-risk offense saying, listen, we're willing to put the ball in harm's way because we need to score touchdowns, right? The one thing that I walk away concerned with, and maybe it was just the cold, Tyler Bass probably had his worst game all season, right? Now, I understand. You couldn't pay me $500,000 to kick anything in 0-degree temperatures. I'm sure that hurt like absolute hell, right? Anything to worry about here? Is this just kind of is this a nothing point? Are we concerned about this at all? We'll go Mike, Tommy, Joe. Is this anything to be concerned about?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Tommy.
No.
Oh my God. No, it's not. It was just a bad game. Tyler Bass has been spot on. It was his first missed extra point of the whole season, really. So it's not to be concerned. I wish it didn't happen, but guys, we demolished him. It's okay. Like if you're gonna have a bad game, this is the game to have it. If you're a kicker, I'm cool with it. So no, it's nothing to be concerned about.
Joe.
To just play devil's advocate, okay, because I'm leaning with these guys here, but to just play devil's advocate, one thing we do have to recognize is that this is Tyler Bass's first playoff game in front of a full crowd. There was last year, which was his rookie season, where you have 5,000, 6,000 people in the stands. Again, I am leaning with both Mike and Tom and saying no. But at the same time, if you want to look at it from another angle, then you could say this was the first time he played in front of a crowd that was this hyped for a game. And the one time you don't want to be missing these kicks is in the playoffs, because next week it's going to matter. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to miss kicks, this is the perfect time to do it. I'm not thinking that's going to be as cold in Kansas City next week. And if we play Tennessee after that, probably not as cold in Tennessee, but we'll see.
Yeah. So from the looks of it, I want to point out Pierre Martinez. Thank you for the super chat. Josh versus the Pats. Josh versus the Finns. Josh versus the Jets. Hey, reigning AFC East champs, baby. Reigning. It is officially a dynasty. And it's so funny to watch Twitter talk about, is this, are the Bills are a problem that aren't going to go away? Guys, we're how many years into this are we now? Like, what do you mean? This is Josh Allen just signed a contract. The Bills aren't going away. Yeah, right. That's right. That Josh's contract didn't make that just magically happen. Like, it's not. Trust me, he's not going anywhere. Yeah, Mike, what's up?
I was gonna say just to click through. There's a chat that came in from John McCall that says the second of those misses was on Hack by his reaction. And I know if you watch any of the other content, one of the kickers came on Cover One and he talked about how the holder actually has a lot to do with misses and makes.
Yeah. Well, I believe that wholeheartedly because I watched Bojo put down multiple kicks for Mason Crosby and there's 3 in a row for the first time in his career. Yeah. So
laces out.
It doesn't matter.
Dan, laces out, Dan.
Yeah.
Right.
So Donnie Brook asks a good question. He goes, I guarantee everyone sees us in a different light. On a national level, I can tell you that a lot of people didn't take Buffalo. Not necessarily they didn't take us seriously, but I don't think they would expect a statement game from Buffalo. Tonight was a statement game. This is a game you put your foot on the throat of a team that a lot of people, even at halftime, were saying, well, let's see what Belichick's adjustments are. Like, they were losing by a lot at halftime, yet people were still worried about the ghost in the closet, right? So this was a statement game for Buffalo. And Joe, I want to start with you because you watched every snap on here on Hashtag Sports when you call the games for us. Was this the biggest statement game of the McDermott era?
Absolutely. Because, we talked about halftime and we talked about at the beginning of this show too. Normally McDermott gets a 20-point lead and he's going to sit on it and he's going to make the other team earn it on offense by beating you and by scoring on every drive he gives you. Even going back, I think back to Josh Allen's rookie season against the Vikings, Josh Allen's first win. We were up 17 points at halftime in that game. Called that game too, by the way. But we were up 17 points at halftime in that game. And the second half was a completely different story. We just sat on the ball. Josh Allen had 4 pass attempts the whole second half, and that was Coach McDermott's MO until tonight. Tonight was that statement game. And like I said before, we now know that if this team needs to make a statement, Coach McDermott's not afraid to make a statement. And now Coach McDermott has that playoff experience under his belt, not just winning one game, or not just, making it into the playoffs, but he knows what it takes to get to the AFC Championship game, Now he wants to go further. And what that means is you have to be willing to not give teams that have Bill Belichick or Andy Reid as their head coach, you don't give them a chance. When you have the foot on the throat, you take them out. And you don't say, oh, well, let's wait to see what they do in the second half to see how we adjust. No, you say, we're the better team. We're winning tonight. And Coach McDermott doing that tonight, am I going to say that we're favored next week in Arrowhead or anything like that? No, not at all. I don't know what the spread's going to be. But at the same time, at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we are, because this team looks that dominant after a performance like tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, you sound like you want to jump in there talking about the Bills at Arrowhead. Now, mind you, that might not happen, right? If Pittsburgh beats Kansas City, listen, crazier shit has happened, right? So if Pittsburgh this season, the Jags beat multiple playoff teams. Just throwing that out there. So with that being said, right, if Pittsburgh beats Kansas City, then the Bengals come to Buffalo, right? But again, I think in that scenario, Buffalo's still a favorite there at home, right? But Buffalo goes to Kansas City. Are you saying that you think Buffalo would be? Do you think that's you're thinking that's Buffalo's going to be favored in that game?
They should be.
Why?
Well, look at the way it's gone. For if you just put the teams up against each other, they've already played once, and the Bills blew them out of their own house.
The Kansas City was on a pretty rough stretch at that point in the season. Every team hits that rough stretch. Buffalo had a tendency to play good, play bad, play good, play bad over the course of a couple months. Kansas City had a 4-week stretch where they looked like the wheels had come off the bus, and Buffalo was fortunate enough to get them at that time. You don't think that was just a matter of timing?
No, I don't, because then you look at, they ran through some so-so. They got Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. They beat Dallas. Okay, that was a good win. They got a couple other, so-so teams. They went up against the Bengals with a chance to lock up the number 1 seed and got blown out. If you have a good offense, that defense struggles. So if your quarterback isn't that good, then they look fantastic.
I wanna call out a comment by Garn Ofrek, who, by the way, has the best avatar of everybody. He's got assistant offensive line coach as his avatar. That's Sasquatch that sits next to Dable in the box. We appreciate the petty here, so thank you, Garn. And Tommy, this one's going to go to you. It says, I want to know what excuses we're going to hear over the next week about why the Bills are on the NFL's longest winning streak and just spanked the number 2 defense in the NFL. What excuses? What are people, the non-believers? Shun the non-believers. What are the non-believers going to be saying about it?
AKA Nick Wright?
Yeah, especially him or the other one on ESPN. I forget his name. But no, they're just going to say the same old thing that they've been saying, that Buffalo is going to do Buffalo things, and they're going to, we're not going to show up, and we don't have what it takes when the game matters, like a big game on a big spotlight, but this is a different team. And one thing I got to piggyback what you were saying, Joe, about McDermott. The thing about McDermott is, and this whole team and his coaching staff, each year they've gotten better and gone further in the playoffs. And it seems like McDermott is learning from his mistakes. And that's a great thing. And I think to what you were saying, I think McDermott has now realized you got to be aggressive, especially in the playoffs. This is it, one and done. And today was an aggressive approach. And like you said, he did not let the gas pedal down. He just kept going, and it was great to see. And by the way, one more thing I want to say about that too is McDermott and Dable, and we talked about this, Mikey, they officially let the handcuffs off Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm. It's that killer instinct that we've been missing for last year's playoffs. They didn't have that killer instinct. They were very conservative. This year, I noticed it really in the second half after that Tampa Bay game.
Yeah.
McDermott went to a killer instinct. He was super aggressive, and I love it. And I hope he keeps it up.
Right.
Scott Blakely, thanks for the super chat, Scott. Again, all super chats, any money that we raise, we are helping to raise money for Matthew 25 Farms. So thank you very much for that. That's a hashtag charity this year. And Scott says, just so you know, Joe is amazing at play-by-play. You might have actually seen a grown man cry while Tyler Bass missed 2 extra points and then joined another. And then he goes on to say, Apex and Tommy, one of the most entertaining podcasts, a great group of contributors. Thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate the love. Triggs44, a favorite here, says, let's keep it real. Who has KC beaten besides the Chargers? And let's be honest, the Chargers at the end of the season, there was a wall that they hit where they just stopped being good. They just stopped being good at football, right? And you could say that there's always that quote unquote rookie wall. Not to say that Herbert would have run headfirst into it, but as you're young in your career, the league makes adjustments, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at the tape from today and then the 2 previous games for Buffalo, if you're Buffalo's next opponent, you don't see any similarities between the 2 games before this and the big dick Buffalo just laid right down on the table. That's it. They just right on the pool table. That's it, right? So what do you do from here if you're an opponent going against the Bills next week? Buffalo did a lot of things this game Kansas City typically likes to do, and there's some concerns about this. I want to just back up a little bit. Kansas City likes to try and spread you out vertically because they don't really want to go vertical. They want to go up and down the field. Reed knows you make your money in the middle of the field. There's no surprise, right? But they like to try and spread you out wide so that way they spread you thin. That's the whole idea. That's why you see, all these strange formations. Today we saw Isaiah McKenzie involved a lot. Is this the new flavor of this offense where they are going to try and spread you out wide so that way that middle of the field, that down the field starts to open up because you got more field to cover? Let's start with Joe. Do you think that is something that we're going to see more often? Is this the new flavor?
I'm not going to say new flavor because we saw this at times last year. They got McKenzie involved. One thing we loved about this offense was how much they got McKenzie involved last year. And then the beginning of this season, it was like they forgot McKenzie existed. And that's a concern. You hope that they see this. I mean, this is something that many of us here, even in the comment section, we see this and we say, this helps Josh Allen with his, we talk about his timing, helps Josh Allen with his timing, helps spread out the field. We see this. And yet for Brian Dable to somehow just ignore it after a while was just so maddening. I think that's what was so maddening about some of these losses to Jacksonville, to Pittsburgh. You weren't doing the things that got you here. So I'm not going to say new flavor. I look at this. I look what they did with McKenzie today. I look what they did with McKenzie in the first game, or the second game against the Patriots. And I say, yes, we want this. We need this. This is what wins us games. But if you told me Dable's going to forget how to win games next week, I'd be like, that sounds like Brian Dable.
Right. Well, and Joe, Mike had brought up something to me before the stream started. I'm going to go to Tommy with this one. Leslie Frazier, Brian Dable, it's interview time now. Like, this is the time of the year where teams that get into the playoffs, it gets a little tricky. Triggs brings up, Allen also deserves a Ric Flair montage. Woo! All right. So do we think that this was interview film, right? So if you walk into an interview, is there a much better taste to put in an organization's mouth than to show what you just did? And is that going to impact next game?
Well, for Dable, it's a hell of a because I feel like Frazier should be a head coach, and he will be. He's already proven that. He's proven that since he's been here. Let's be real. Dable's really the one that has been shaky. And then in the playoffs last year, he did not do good. And that's probably why he wasn't hired as a head coach. This year, in that first game today in the playoffs, that is a hell of a way to put your a resume out there with this kind of win. So, but I believe they're both gone. If you're going to ask me that, they're both gone. I told Mikey that. I've been saying that. They are both gone.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I believe that.
So, Mike, if you're looking at next game, right? Whether it be the Bengals, whether it be Kansas City, do you think either of those teams are ready for what Buffalo just put out there for the NFL to see?
I think they're going to try to be. But let's be perfectly honest. And I want to go back just a second to the comment about Isaiah McKenzie. What I've noticed this year is we're using Isaiah McKenzie much like Kansas City uses Tyreek Hill. We started lining them up in the backfield. We give them handoffs. We do little dump off screen passes. We run them out of the slot. The only thing he doesn't do that Tyreek does is go outside and run deep. But I love the fact that we're using him like that because he's an X factor. He's a game changer. That he's so quick. But going into next week, honestly, we just did that to Bill Belichick. Is there going to be a better defense out there than we just played until we get to the Super Bowl? Like on the AFC side, who has a better defense?
I'm not going to say that Tennessee's a well-coached defense.
Okay.
I'm not going to say they're better, but they're a well-coached defense.
But
now,
we were in
optimistic,
but Paul,
because that's AFC Championship talk there. We wouldn't see Tennessee till the AFC Championship.
But we put up some pretty good points against Tennessee in Tennessee, and we should have won that game. So I don't feel like they're a good D, but really, I gotta say Kansas City's defense has improved since they made a couple moves. So they're not like bad, and I would say they're almost on the same level as the Patriots. They got some good defensive edge.
You are high.
I like them.
I think
they've been playing. I think
my brother.
Listen, they've been playing phenomenal. I gotta say,
they haven't played anybody. Of course, they're playing phenomenal. They haven't played.
I hate when Mikey. I hate when people say that because they say that against us.
Okay, did they look phenomenal against Cincinnati?
I hate that term.
Did they look phenomenal against Cincinnati?
Yeah, but we could say the same thing about us against certain teams too, and we're the number one defense, and we didn't look phenomenal in some games.
You are high.
I'm just being. I'm sorry. I think they've been playing way better.
Patriots were the number 2 ranked defense in the league, bro.
Yeah, Paul, I know how you felt on Wednesday with Mario when me and Mike started getting into it.
Just wind them up.
Kansas City's defense has been playing better than the Patriots. I'm sorry. The Patriots, listen, the Dolphins whooped up on the Patriots. The Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So how good were the Patriots defense? They've been playing bad football. Let's be real. Well, we didn't punt the last game.
Well, and how good has the Bills, punt returning been when you're rolling out your second team all-pro free safety to have to field kicks when you drafted a punt returner who is inactive, and you have Isaiah McKenzie who fumbled his first touch of the game on that kickoff. Like, what kind of scenario are you in where we're running Micah Hyde out there? Micah Hyde, who was a shoelace away from taking one all the way.
Man.
Mike, so I have to ask you this, right? Let's go down the row. If you're Micah Hyde, how much are you charging Terrell Dodson for tripping you on a punt return touchdown?
Oh, that's a fat fine. That's a fat fine in the locker room. That's a fat fine.
Yeah, Tommy, what do you think? What's going to happen to Terrell Dodson?
Oh yeah, he ain't getting no presents next year. Put it that way. He's off the list.
Joe, what's your most creative punishment you could think Micah Hyde could give to Terrell Dodson for tripping him on that punt return?
Wow, they put me on the spot. Let's see. Well, he's going to be carrying Micah Hyde's bags for a long time. He's going to be carrying Micah Hyde's pads after practice for a long time. A few dinners are going to be on, and not just like this is one of those like you hear about when they roast rookies, like when the whole team goes out for dinner and then all of a sudden they all leave and the rookie's left with the tab. Like this is come back at you, Dodson. Like you're getting that kind of treatment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Chris G asks, Bills versus the GOAT in the Super Bowl. I assume he's talking about Tom Brady. Listen, there's a long way to go for there, right? Yes. There's a long road to get there. It is an awesome opportunity to talk about the Bills making the Super Bowl, but there's still more games to be played, and that's the narrative you're going to hear out of One Bills Drive. Nice thing, like when we look at injuries, right? Relatively unscathed today, right? The Bills had near no players on the injury report all week. Cold games typically have a tendency to be a widowmaker, right? Normally you're going to lose something. You're going to lose someone along the way. Buffalo was saved from that. Thank the good Lord above. So when we talk about the pass rush, and let's talk about Kansas City or Cincinnati, really it doesn't matter. The thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was the defensive ends for Buffalo gave really, really huge passing lanes to the outside, right? Like the ends would kind of over pursue the pocket. I know Mac Jones isn't the fleetest of foot, but I think he had like 67 rushing yards today. So like that should tell you something. But the lanes were huge, right? Against Kansas City, against Cincinnati, you can't give those lanes to step up in because those quarterbacks are going to take advantage of it. Mahomes more than Burrow. But do you think that's something that, Leslie Frazier is going to be able to tighten up? Because Buffalo's been doing it all season. We'll start with Tommy. Do you think that pressure up front, we're going to see a different look next game? Because, again, those ends were pressing way past the pocket where they should be. And Burrow and Mahomes, they're not going to miss that opportunity to just go.
Yeah, but I mean, Mac Jones only ran 18 yards, so I don't it wasn't that crazy.
Do they aren't they subtracting? Don't they subtract sack yardage from the rushing yardage?
No, that's
I guess,
yards.
but he's still.
No,
I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but it's a game plan because I think every team's different. Every defense, every team you're going against is a different game plan. So depending on who we play, right? So if it's Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, is he going to run better than Kansas City on Mahomes? Like, you get what I'm saying? So.
Well, thanks to Bobby Hart, probably not.
Yeah. Right. It's true. Right. So, no, to answer your question, I think it was fine tonight. I think that was the game plan. Let Mac Jones kind of beat us. And by the way, their rushing did nothing. They did nothing in the run game today. We totally stopped that. We put the ball, let Mac Jones beat us, and that did not happen. You see how that went. And to give up a couple runs from him, who cares? At the end of the day, they did their job, but I get what you're saying. But every team's different. Every game plan, Frazier's gonna switch it up depending on who we play. So today was perfect. I thought it was perfect game plan. I didn't see that as a problem.
Mike, Geek Squad says sign Shaq Lawson if Addison is hurt. Addison did not come back, and the truth of the matter is, AJ Epineza and Mr. Diggs called it out in the chat. Said Mcdermott was pretty pissed at Epineza for that roughing the passer call.
I loved it.
Are we talking about that really being a possibility? Yeah. Oh, yeah. McDermott loved it.
Michael.
Yeah.
No, I loved it.
You loved it?
I loved it. Hit that dude.
What?
Dude, he's the guy who's twisting people's ankles trying to hurt him after he throws a pick. Screw him.
Mike is mad.
Oh, my God. Do you see? McDermott was so mad. His eyebrows went all the way to the back of his skull.
No, I'm just telling you, I loved it. I am not a Mac Jones guy. I hate
Luckily,
Mac
Mike's
Jones.
not the head coach, or we would be getting penalties left and right.
Mac is dirty, and I like that someone else laid a hit on them because the Patriots are dirty. They did it last week. Number 9, can't think of his name, Judon. Trying to step on Josh's foot, and they're always twisting. Screw them. Give it back to him.
Mike's Greg Williams of the.
I asked this question to the wrong member of the panel, so we're going to pivot to Joe. Joe, what do you think? Do you think Shaq Lawson in Buffalo can play immediately? Epineza, again, maybe that wasn't taken too well. Is it possible if Addison's out? I thought it looked like I didn't catch the injury report. I saw him moving his arm, shoulder, elbow area. So I know he got taken out by Tremaine Edmonds. Is Shaq Lawson a realistic part of the conversation if Addison is going to be out for multiple weeks?
I don't think so. Just because you look at the veterans that we signed last year for the practice squad, Kane Stills and some others, they were signed before the postseason began. You didn't really see us sign veterans during the postseason run that we had. I think that the way the defense is run right now, I mean, we lost Trey White and you didn't see us picking up a veteran corner. The way the defense is set up, it's more scheme oriented. And you look at, the inactives just from today, you have some guys that could play on the defensive line to step in. F.A. Obata was inactive today. He could step in and fill a role if needed. To be honest with you, out of the defensive line now, I saw Addison when they came back from commercial break. He seemed like it was just like a stinger or something. I'm not doctoring it, right? But he was walking it off and he wasn't really flexing his arm or holding his arm once they came back from commercial break. So I'm thinking that he'll be all right. Injury reports can come out, he's going to have a broken arm or something. But I just don't see us signing someone like Shaq Lawson right now. There's no need to. And you look at Shaq Lawson's history since leaving Buffalo, you don't just get that back when you sign a player back. You look at what the player has brought to the table since he left. He hasn't really brought much to the table. And so it's not just like, oh, we'll bring him back Buffalo, he'll produce the same way. No, it's a completely different team than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, it Triggs on the super chat. Snorkel McCorkle wore a scuba suit tonight. And that was an old Daryl Talley thing, right? Daryl Talley used to not wear a scuba suit, but he would wear a ski suit. He would cover himself in Vaseline. Imagery aside, he would cover himself in Vaseline and then put on these ski suits. And that's where he got the Spider-Man nickname. He said he had all sorts of tricks to keep himself warm. So I heard an interview about how he would stay warm in cold weather. I did not know the chicken soup thing. Did you guys know about the Green Bay? They drink chicken broth on the sideline. Now they were doing it out of Tim Hortons cups, and I don't know what is more Buffalo than that, right? You're drinking chicken broth out of Tim Hortons cups on the sideline. So awesome product placement for Tim Hortons. Congratulations on that. But I didn't know that. Did you? Any of you guys know that was a thing?
No,
I did not.
I did not know that.
I did not.
No.
I knew that chicken broth was like when you I would go to a game that was very cold. I knew that people would say drink chicken broth, but I didn't think about it really as far as the aspect of the players themselves.
Yeah, that was a new one for me. Clearly it was fuel for Micah Hyde. Can we talk about that interception in the first half? Oh my goodness,
so
man.
Pretty. So pretty.
That was one of those interceptions where it happened and you stood up and you just yelled, and there's no Pro Bowlers on this defense, right? Like you just go, they were the number one defense. And hold on, I've got it written right here. The number one scoring defense, number one defense in yards allowed, number one defense in pass yards allowed, number one defense in total yards allowed per play, number one defense in first downs allowed per game, number one defense in third down conversions allowed, number one defense in passing yards per, like the margin of victory, they won by 12 points. Like there was no reason not to have a single Pro Bowler on, let alone on this team, but on the defense, right? Like that is the stuff that fuels teams to victory when they feel slighted. And the fact that none of them did it. Micah Hyde, and I saw somebody ask it earlier. I forget who it was because it's so far back in the chat. Let's transition to game balls. If you're giving out a game ball, mine's going to Micah Hyde. As we talk about Josh Allen all day long, I think everybody in this world knows that Josh Allen gets a game ball, but mine goes to Micah Hyde because he played just a great game. I know he got burned for a touchdown, but I didn't really care about that one touchdown that he got burned for in the corner. Happens. To me, Micah Hyde gets my game ball because he was just everywhere and played aggressive, and I am here for it. Tommy, who's your game ball?
I gotta agree with you.
Ask?
I have to know.
Singletary man.
No, I have to agree with Micah Hyde getting the game ball because he set the tone when it could have been a 7-7 game. And I'm not saying that we couldn't have bounced back and still did what we did on offense, but it kind of set the tone, especially for the defense, on how the rest of the game was going to go. It was a great. My God, that was like a baseball. Or, what you would see on a baseball ESPN top 10 when a guy makes an over-the-shoulder catch. That was phenomenal. Watch that, guys, over in the replay, and that the way he got to the ball, man, that was
Ed Reed style. That's what Ed
Reed, boy, the best safety you've ever seen, boy.
Ed Reed, that was Ed Reed style right there.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where Jacoby Myers had no chance breaking that up, right? Mm-hmm. There's sometimes where receivers will see the guy come and he's like, okay, I just got to break this up. He had no idea his pocket was about to get picked. No idea. All right, so Joe, who's your game ball go to?
So, it was Aguilar, not Myers, that on the pick. But
it was Aguilar on the
it was Aguilar.
Pick? Well, he would have dropped it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that and going back to that play, I mean, even sitting here calling the game, it was one of those things where the only reason why I knew it was intercepted was because of Wallace's reaction. Like you didn't even really like, you're like, it was broken up. Could they? What just happened? And you see Wallace celebrating. You're like, wait a second, that just happened. So I'm gonna intentionally go. I mean, what are you doing?
Tony B. His comment, I was just making highlight to his comment. He goes, what are we talking about this Josh Allen guy for? He's not even a Pro Bowler.
He's not even a Pro Bowler. He's never that good. Where's Lamar Jackson when you need him? But I mean, I think I piggyback off both Tommy and you. Like that play changed the whole game, right? So you have to have a game ball going to him. But just to be different, I'll go on the offensive side of the ball. And, Dawson Knox has to be considered for a game ball. I think, early on, especially the first quarter, he set the tone. And if you watch how he played, I think there was a penalty on him at some point in the game, though, which made me unhappy. But at the same time, you watch how he played, not just catching the ball, but he was active every single play. And he did a great job the whole game, I thought, especially obviously in that first quarter with those 2 touchdowns. That catch was unreal. Like just and
the last one. The last one.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean the touchdown catch. And the name's Clark, by the way. I know I didn't know it at halftime because I was on the spot, but Joe Montana to Clark. But anyway, just all the catches they made, it seemed like were really good. And I think on Wednesday, Paul asked me how many drops will Knox have. He didn't have a single drop, not a single drop.
Nope.
So
nope. All right, Mike, who's your game ball?
So I mean, I guess a low hanging fruit would be to give it to Singletary because Tommy didn't. But I'm gonna give mine to Dayball. I don't think I've ever been a guy who said I'd give my game ball to Dayball. But dude, I have zero complaints on how he called the game today. The game plan was perfect. I loved how he mixed up the run and the pass. He got everybody involved. It was awesome. And it wasn't Josh, and I think we talked about this before the show. It wasn't a lot of option routes, and it wasn't a lot of Josh making things off the script. A lot of it was designed play calls to get the ball out of Josh's hands early and let your playmakers do it. And dude, I tip my cap to him. It was an awesome game.
I'm not sure Brian Dable accepts a game ball unless it's filled with like Fritos, some sort of snack.
That's true.
And I guess that's one of the things I saw somebody mention in the comments section. Brian Dable, if he does relocate, not much like Buffalo food, man. Not food. There's not many cities like Buffalo, right? You don't have the food. All right. Oh, here's a good one. Chewy Baca says Mitch Morris was a beast tonight. Something that I thought was really fascinating that I don't think we would have seen last year was it was in the first. I think it was in the first quarter. First or second drive by Buffalo. They were inside the 20. Josh steps back and just runs, right? That was not a designed QB run. What happened was he saw Mitch get to the second level and was like, I'm gone. Like Mitch had a clear line to a linebacker. He's like, that's it. I'm gone. And Josh just ran for the first down, right? Like that's recognition that Josh wouldn't have made last year, right?
Agreed.
He wouldn't have made it. He would have said, this is a passing play. I only run when I have to. And I thought Josh did a great job of relying on his teammates today, which I love Josh Allen. When the ball is on the ground, Josh can be pretty selfish, right? He could be relatively selfish. So we'll go Tommy, then Mike, then Joe. Josh only had 6 carries today, right? We saw Isaiah McKenzie again involved a little bit. Are we going to start seeing a little bit more of a reliance on the run game? I know we've had the mirage that the Bills have been able to run the football, but you were playing the Panthers, you were playing the Jets, you were playing the Falcons. Like these were teams that you could kind of abuse with the run. Is this not a mirage? Is this the real deal?
No, it's the real deal. I think after that second half of that Tampa game, I hate to keep bringing that up, but they started getting Singletary involved in that game. That's where you saw the running attack finally start, where they said, you know what, we have to start using this guy. We have to start running. We cannot just rely on Josh Allen the whole game. And moving forward, I think it will be because, look, I told you guys, I think Singletary needs to get 15 to 20 carries. He got 16 tonight. 81 yards, 5.1 average. You couldn't ask for better. Josh Allen, 6 carries. That's great. You don't want Josh Allen running 15 times. We can't have that. He's going to get hurt eventually. I thought it was perfect. I actually like Josh Allen running when he chooses to run, when it's a broken play. He doesn't see, he goes through his reads and he goes. And he did that a couple times tonight, by the way, and it worked out beautifully. It's the design runs that we have to dial back. And I think Dable's starting to understand that, and he's starting to trust Singletary more. And now this is what you get.
So you think that's Dable trusting Singletary more and not Josh trusting Singletary more? That's interesting, right?
I think it's both. It's both.
All
I think Allen is also, because on some of those RPOs, Allen was never giving that ball up prior. And lately, I have noticed he's been giving the ball more to Singletary on those. So he is starting to trust him also in the passing game. He's getting Singletary involved in the passing game, which he was not doing early in the season. It's great to see. It really is.
Mike, what do you think? Do you think the run game is real? And do you think this offensive line, is this the line? This is it, right?
This should be it.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think this should be it. Moving Bates inside gave us another really smart line caller, because he plays center. I mean, he really plays all over, but he's been being groomed as the backup center or the replacement center. So having him there helps. I also believe a lot of it has to do with Josh's ability to take off and run, because when Josh starts running and then they start doing those fakes or the RPOs and he does give the ball, Josh takes off the other way. The linebackers always take a step or two towards Allen. So the fact that he started running and he had that big one, and then we started giving it to Moss and he's starting to give it to McKenzie. I think he's realizing that he doesn't have to do it by himself. The line holds up enough, and we also started running a lot more pin and pulls. I've noticed too, getting those big guys out in front of them, which I think is helpful. But I do think that this run game is legit. I don't think it's going to be Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor legit. I think it's going to be good enough to give us another option that they can't just look for the pass.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and Joe, where do you stand as far as this is concerned? Like, I know that, the offense put up an absurd amount of points today, which is great, right? Do you think we start seeing this offense try and slow things down, or are we really in a mode of, listen, we're here, we're going to score 100 points today. Your job is to stop us from scoring 100 points today?
Sure. I think about last year, and I think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went on to win the Super Bowl, of course, going into, I forget exactly what week it was. It might have been 11 or 12. But anyway, Tampa Bay had like the 16th ranked rushing offense. It took till later in the season, after their bye week, they really got the offensive running game going. And, that's the kind of NFL we live in today. Is the running game's not important weeks 1 through 15, but then the playoffs get going and you're like, okay, we need to get this running game going. We need to get this run attack going. And then you do, and then it lasts through the playoffs. Leonard Fournette didn't have a great regular season last year, but in the playoffs, he was the Leonard Fournette of old. And that's kind of what the Bills are doing here. The Bills are saying, we didn't need to use the running game the first 3 months of the season, but now it's getting to the colder weather and it's getting to playoff football, smash mouth. Let's get this running attack going. You talk about Josh Allen, recognizing Mitch Morse getting to the second level and running the ball. One thing I loved, I saw some plays looking back, and there were times when Josh Allen was in the pocket and he just stood there. Like, he knew that he'd have protection. He knew he'd have the pocket, and he was like, okay, I'm good. And to see that confidence, that's why you need to stick with this offensive line the way it is, because Josh Allen and Brian Dable are getting confidence in this offensive line, and that's important. As far as game plans, obviously for each team, as Tommy said earlier, game plan is different. I think that you don't want to go into a game against a Patrick Mahomes and just think, hey, we're going to outscore you. Now, the good news is we have the type of defense, the number one defense in the league, that we could say, yeah, we're going to make the offense do as much as they can, score as many points as they can, and trust that this defense is going to stop them at some point. Now, I will also make note of the fact that the past 3-4 games of the season, the Bills have definitely controlled time possession in each one of those games. And again, at first you could say, well, it's the Jets, the Falcons, the whoever. But yeah, now in this game, we control time possession pretty much from go. And, so obviously there's a little bit of a mix in there of, listen, when you're 7 for 7 on scoring drives, we only had 7 drives, which isn't a whole boatload of drives. But when you score on all of them, it's easy to take your time and just like do what you want to do.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, I just want to chime in real quick on that. Those drives, by the way, 2 things. Those drives were all long drives except I think 2 of them. They all started from the 20 or 25. That's one, which was unbelievable because that's just a crazy stat. And the other was, you're talking about the offensive line. That play that he did to Dawson Knox, I believe they said was an NFL record for longest time in the pocket to throw, which was like 9.6 seconds. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, just pointing that out. Yeah,
that is wild. And I want to make sure that thank you to everybody that's been joining us so far. So just a real quick update on the channel before we kind of wrap things up a little bit. First off, we do have a Patreon. We thank everybody that's a member with our Patreons. And actually, we have one more jersey to give away. I've gone ahead and gone through a random number generator. It's only available to our Patreon members. So if you want to get into all the giveaways and all the things that we do, you can click the link for Patreon. For us, it's $7.16 a month. You get everything that we do. So I've gone ahead and drawn the winner of that jersey, and that is Tim Ellington. Now, some of you might not know Tim. Tim did stop by the golf tournament that we had, which was for Matthew 25 Farms. Tim dresses like a pirate places. So I'm not sure how he's going to piratize his jersey, but Tim is getting himself a Dion Dawkins jersey.
The snowman. The snowman.
6 weeks ago, this was not a badge of honor. Looking pretty good now.
That's right.
So yeah, congrats to Tim for winning that jersey. Tim, I'll connect with you and we'll figure out how to get it over to you. And again, we do giveaways and stuff like that all the time, but it's solely through Patreon. So thank you for those of you who have joined the Patreon, and of course, thanks to everybody who's done the super chats tonight. So if we have to start looking forward and saying what's ideal, right? What's best case scenario? Looking at next weekend, right? The ideal scenario, I think we all agree, is Buffalo playing at home, right? Are we all in agreement that Buffalo is playing at home? So Cincinnati is the best case scenario, is what I'm seeing. I see heads shaking. Oh, okay. Well, now I see heads.
Here we go. Hear me out.
Kansas City at home. You're not getting Kansas City at home.
Right, correct.
At home. So,
but you're talking best case scenario, right? Wouldn't best case scenario be Cincy and Kansas City winning tomorrow? Cincy beats Tennessee, we beat Kansas City, we have the AFC Championship game in Buffalo.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like
that'd
that.
be great. Oh,
right?
that's real down the road, Joe. That's real down the road.
That is.
Yeah, that's real down the road.
I mean, you could also do it to where we beat Cincy, Pittsburgh beats both KC and Tennessee, and we get Pittsburgh back at home.
Stop it.
You're funny.
That's a good one.
Poor Tommy's like, anything I say is not going to sound as batshit crazy as all that.
No.
You know me. I always say batshit crazy stuff. That's who I am.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Mike and Tommy, you can catch them every Friday. Tailgate Talk. That is 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you follow their socials, Apex and Mafia Sports Report, or Tommy Talks Bills is the Twitter handle. Of course, we've got Joe, and Joe does all the games for us. Make sure you're getting with Joe on all his socials. Thank you for following us at hashtag 2. Oh, listen, guys, Mario got our Twitter handle like banned, and he didn't. He just made one and didn't ask me. So this is how we get handles like hashtag 2.0. I had no idea. Yeah, he told me. I was like, so that's what we got. All right, that's what we're going with here. All right, that's what we're going with. Of course, we do have our website, hashtag sports or hashtagsports.com. If we're looking for writers, if you guys want to write, come at us. We're more than happy to look at adding staff writers for htagsports.com. Other than that, hey, go Bills, everybody.
Go
right?
Bills.
Go Bills.
Bills.
I do have listen, there was, and this is I'm gonna do this because I didn't get a chance to do it last episode. Tommy had a little Matt Breida slander, and guilty by association.
Oh,
is
you just
Mike.
want to play the video. You
I'm
just want to play the
I'm
video.
playing the Bobby Hart video. So we're gonna close tonight with Mike singing the praises of Bobby Hart. Inactive Bobby Hart. Inactive Bobby Hart. You guys
Still
have
on
a
the
great
rock.
night. Go Bills, and we will
Go
catch you all
Bills.
later this week.
And I can't believe I'm going to say this, and please don't kill me for it. Is I could totally see McDermott keeping Bobby Hart.
Ugh.
I'm getting killed in the chat, by the way.
Yeah. See, hey guys, I did not say the Bobby Hart thing. I didn't. Bobby Hart's terrible. God, he's the worst.
No, I'm not saying I want him. Let me make this perfectly clear. I'm saying
Mike loves Bobby Hart.
Oh, dude, that shit's so
I
funny,
can't get
bro.
enough of it. I can't get enough. Tony Braxton unbreak my heart over the profile picture of Bobby Hart. I just can't. I can't get enough. I feel it in my bones. I
Oh,
just feel it in my
Lord.
bones. Look, Mike just doesn't want to talk to me anymore. He's like, no,
He's done.
yeah. So, all right, guys. Again, thanks so much. Have a
Great show,
night.
man. Yeah, you guys too.